Welcome back to another episode of Red Tinted Glasses. And has anybody got cup fever yet? We are just days away from the Dons returning to Hampden. And if you've not quite got cup fever yet, how about the fact that Rangers haven't beaten us in cup competition since 2004? Calum, you're the optimistic one. Does that help your optimism?
No, it makes it worse. It makes it worse. It's why would you have to mention that? It's just I feel like that you saying that is now, put it in destiny that we're not going to come out of this one with a win. But
well, I'll take it on the chin. And joining us again is local radio DJ Beth Wallace. Beth, welcome back to Red Tinted Glasses again. What about you? How's your optimism or nerves feeling ahead of the game?
I don't know, I'm still kind of blocking out and not thinking about it. I think until I'm in my seat, I'll keep my anxiety away. There's no point stressing myself in the lead up.
Yeah, I think it always hits different on the day of the game, that nerves, anxiety build up. Once you hit Glasgow, for me it tends to be once you get to that roundabout at Dunblane, Stirling, that's when the nerves really hit. Of course, this is the first time fans will be heading back to Hampden from an Aberdeen persuasion since the 14th of April 2019. Let's just hope we don't get two players sent off this weekend. Although with Nick Walsh in the middle, anything can happen, I suppose. But we don't want to be too het up on referee appointments. But I suppose as well, Calum, this will be the first semi-final we've been involved in that also has VAR. Let's hope they've been practicing monitoring Connor Goldson's arms, because we know that's been a hot topic of conversation.
Absolutely, and I suppose James Tavernier as well from the one at Pittodrie too. I'm not confident at all in their ability to use VAR or just the referees in general whatsoever. Rangers haven't had a penalty given against them this season. I can't see that changing at all, even with VAR. I just feel like there's going to be a big moment and it's not going to go in our favour. So you're welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Love
Beth,
positivity.
Yeah, exactly. Do you take any confidence from the last time we played Rangers at Hampden, where of course Lewis Ferguson got the winner? You could argue we're almost going to Hampden in the same sort of way we did that time, not expected to do much, outnumbered in the stands. Can we repeat the same result?
I think it's always possible, is it?
Yeah.
You just need that moment of magic, like Lewis Ferguson. I think the thing with this cup is we're going to need two moments of magic to actually lift the cup. So we can have that moment of magic and get to the final, but then, we're likely going to be playing Celtic in the final. Mm-hmm. So we're going to need another moment of magic then. And to get two moments of magic in the same season, in the same cup, I don't know. The optimist in me is saying yes, but I never go into a game thinking we're not going to win, to be fair. I always go in with a positive attitude, but I also never accept a Rangers or a Celtic win until that final whistle is blown. When we were sat at Pittodrie a couple of weeks ago, it was 2-1, extra time. I was like, no, not yet, not yet. And exactly was proved why.
We could have been 3-0 up with 2 minutes to go, and I still wouldn't believe we're gonna win. So no, I totally agree with you on that point. Again, even more so with what we've seen recently with VAR, and again with who's in charge this weekend and the conspiracy theories that come with that. But as we head into this game, Calum, obviously that game at Pittodrie that Beth speaks about lives in the memory for all the wrong reasons just now, but there were positives to take up until about the 90th minute. Can we take the lessons from that game in the positive manner into this weekend, or given it's a cup competition, is it totally different?
Obviously, it is different being a semi-final. Certainly, playing in Glasgow against Rangers in a cup competition, odds already stacked against you. I'll put my tinfoil hat away though. I like to think we've learned from the last two games against the Glasgow too. I said that sort of going into the break when we were probably a bit more excited about the semi-final than we are now. That at least we'll have the chance to play both of them again, and they'll hopefully be able to learn from that before the semi-final, because obviously a lot of the players in this team have never played Celtic or Rangers, won't have played at Hampden before. So it'll be a big occasion, and I like to think that they'll be able to take things, and not only the players as well, but the manager as well, knowing that, for example, we can't just sit off them because we'll get ripped apart if we do that for 90 minutes. Eventually, they'll find a way through. And just also in terms of the manager's tactical nous, he needs to be a bit more aware of, with the way the game's swinging at certain times. If we're on top, don't make a triple change, for example, and throw it away. So hopefully lessons will have been learned and we'll be in better stead. You'd like to think. And I suppose players, they'll have a point to prove as well after the last result.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think the players will have a point to prove, because certainly in the games against the Glasgow 2 this season, we haven't really turned up, or maybe let ourselves down in occasion. But interesting point that Calum makes, Beth, about kind of the approach. If we look at the last time we went to Glasgow to play Rangers, I put it in the notes that it was a kamikaze approach, a bit gung-ho, and we kind of just left ourselves horribly exposed. Do you think Jim Goodwin's got to try and find that balance from taking the game to Rangers, but also levelling it out that we keep it tight as well at the back? And given that Hampden's the bigger pitch and the occasion, as Calum mentioned as well, how much of a factor is that going to play as well in our approach?
I think, between the Celtic and the Rangers game, we've tried every kind of approach within those two games. We've sat off and we've went for it, and then once we're up, we've sat off again, and we've not found the balance. So it's so important that we do find the balance this weekend. We do really have to go for it. We can't sit off for 90 minutes. It's too much for people to stay concentrated for that length of time. We know time and time again, Rangers and Celtic, if you do that, you will eventually be punished. And it might work for a while, but then, as always, they're well known for their last minute goals, especially against us. But yeah, the occasion as well, I think, it is Glasgow. There is going to be more Rangers fans than there is Aberdeen fans. If we can get up one in front, I think, the Dons supporters will definitely rally and get behind the team. If it goes the other way, Rangers go ahead, it's so important who goes ahead first, is it, when it comes to support? Folk will turn very, very easily. If we do go up, it's so important that we then don't just sit, because that's what went wrong at Pittodrie a few weeks ago, is that we sat and sat and sat, and then eventually we were punished, especially because we're not 100% confident in our defence at this point. We don't know if we can rely on them to go with that situation. So it's such a thin line, it's such a difficult balance, but I'm hoping that the team, they've had all that experience in those couple of games there. Hopefully that's enough for them to work out what they need to do.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point about the goal, Calum, because, especially if we concede early, I'm like, oh, here we go again. Our Hampden record in recent years is a lot made of that, it not being great. But equally, I think Beth's right. If we can take the lead in this game, whenever it is, early or not, we need to just stick to the game plan, because we saw that game at Pittodrie, the triple substitution killed us, sitting back killed us. If we kept pushing at Rangers, I still maintain I don't think we'd have lost the game. We may have drawn it, but I don't think we'd have lost the game. I think the change in tactic hurt us. But defensively, I think this is going to be where the game is won or lost from both sides, Calum. And I think, Beth made the point when we were speaking about the St Johnstone game on the last episode about maybe not being able to fully trust our defence yet. But we're going into this game on the back of 2 clean sheets. But they weren't really tested in those 2 games, were they?
They absolutely were not. However, I still think it will give us some confidence as well, just sort of mentally. The fact you have come off the back of 2 clean sheets will certainly help us. And it's a good point you make about sort of both defences, because Rangers at times do not look comfortable as well defensively. They've got big name players in there. Connor Goldson, Tavernier. If Ben Davies plays, he's come from the Premier League. But still, they can be got at. And I think, particularly looking at players like Duke and Miovski, his movement can cause them problems. But there needs to be support from elsewhere as well. And in terms of our defence, I think, well, on the basis of the back four, not particularly confident. I don't know whether McCrory being in there, a bit more physicality, presumably if he starts at right back, could help us. But the protection that Ramadani and Shinnie offer, absolutely key. And how many times have we said on here that games are often won and lost in the middle of the park? Those two they could win us the game. They could win us the game if they are on their game and they not only help protect that back four, but show that doggedness in the middle of the park, are able to get up in support at times when they choose the correct times for when we're going forward and get extra bodies in there. We might stand a chance, so we need those two in particular to be on it.
Yeah, but it's a couple of interesting points you raised there. And Beth, in the game at Pittodrie, Jane Richardson had a couple of key mistakes, let's call them, that led to Rangers goals. We've not seen him, and we've got Ross McCrory at right back. That could be a huge difference to us in terms of balance of our defence. But also, as Calum says, Rangers have got big name players, yes, but Duke caused them loads of problem at Pittodrie, and he's going to be high as a kite after his 2 goals at the weekend. Yeah. And I'm sure on a big stage like Hampden, he will want to perform and he will want to cause Rangers problems. And I think if we again look back at that game at Pittodrie, largely we performed well defensively. We just gifted Rangers the goals. We shot ourselves in the foot, but we also caused their defence plenty of problems. So some of the our defence can certainly take some degree of confidence if they can just cut out the stupid mistakes. But equally, our forward line should have some form of confidence going into this. They know that they can cause that Rangers backline problems.
I think you've got 2 key differences from the game at Pittodrie and Sunday's game is that you've got Ross McCrory in the right back position, assuming that's what Goodwin goes with. So you've got a bit more of a solid, more confidence in your defence there. And you've also got Graham Shinnie in the middle of the park. So Rangers were kind of running through the middle a wee bit. So he's going to stop that a wee bit more than we did last time. So that's 2 key differences. I think, and you're saying as well, Duke's going to be high as a kite. Duke's high as a kite normally, never mind on semi-final day against Rangers. But, we've seen that where that goes against guys' favours. The stakes are too high, they get too excited and it all goes wrong. But I think he'll keep a level head, and I think he will be really key. I think that left side, again, is just... If I was a Rangers manager, I'd be sitting listening to me going, oh yeah, Beth's got a point, we should put everything down the left side. But yeah, I think that's where we're weak. And it's whether Rangers capitalise on that or not. But we're in a stronger position than we were at Pittodrie a couple of weeks ago. And actually, most of the game we did pretty well. Up until that last minute of madness, disaster. So if we're improving on that, the more I think about it, the more confident I'm becoming, which I don't really like, and then I'll be disappointed.
I know. I wonder how many of you are listening into this game as you currently make your way down to Glasgow as well, and how much this is maybe helping confidence levels. But Calum, you mentioned the midfield, and you're absolutely right. We discuss this so often on this podcast about the midfield and how important it is to winning a game. And I know we've just spoken about Shinnie, so I'm going to leave that position just now. But Beth spoke about that kind of our right-hand side. And obviously, Matty Kennedy started the game against St Johnstone. Is probably Jim Goodwin's biggest decision going into this weekend who starts on the right wing, Matty Kennedy or Johnny Hayes? Because if you go with Johnny Hayes as well, he almost gives you that little bit extra defensive cover to help out Ross McCrory as well. I know it's not the side he's used to, but you could then easy alternate him and Duke on the wings to help out your fullback. And I'm sure Johnny Hayes would be comfortable helping out either, as well as providing a form of attacking threat.
Certainly. I think him starting on the right-hand side when you could potentially have Borna Barisic, him and Johnny Hayes, Borna Barisic and Kent coming down that side would be smart, because Matty Kennedy playing right back has performed quite well. However, I just think Hayes gives that little bit more in terms of work rate and a little bit more experience and tactical nous and things like that. He'll know when to go forward, when to break forward, and when just to be a bit more reserved, perhaps. I would prefer if Johnny Hayes does start that, and then having said that, if Matty Kennedy's coming off the bench to give us an extra attacking option, that's absolutely fine by me. Hayes would certainly be my more preferred option, and we've seen him be the man for the big occasion, perhaps more in his first spell at Aberdeen, and maybe he could pop up again. You never know. In his old age, the old dog's still got life in him yet.
Yeah, I think he'd be my pick as well. Beth, yours as well?
Yeah, I would. I wonder whether he's fit enough to start is my question, because he's not been starting. Matty Kennedy has had a good couple of games, but I think he's not consistent enough.
Yeah.
When he's off his game, it's not good enough. But he's had a couple of screamer goals recently, and I've been changing my mind a bit. I'm like, oh, maybe, but then he wasn't quite on it against St. Johnstone the other day either. So I think it really depends on the day with Matty Kennedy, and you can't really depend on the day when it comes to a semi-final. I would be more confident and feel more reliant on Johnny Hayes. And he's going to be up for it. It's against Rangers, so
yeah. No, I think that's actually an excellent point. We don't want to be going into this game with any passengers in the side, and I think you're absolutely right, and I totally agree that if Matty Kennedy's not on it, he's 100% not on it, and that he's not on it. I think that's a very good point, and I think we're all in agreement here that we would like to see Johnny Hayes start. If he doesn't, we're obviously, of course, fully behind Matty Kennedy if he gets the nod instead. But Beth, another player that shone the last time we played Rangers, until, of course, Jim Goodwin made that triple change, was Leighton Clarkson. I just wonder how much he's going to relish this occasion, playing in, of course, a freer role that we saw at the weekend, a big pitch to look forward to at Hampden as well. How much do you think we can maybe expect from Leighton Clarkson this weekend? Because, of course, as Calum said in the last episode, wasn't his best game at the weekend, but maybe saving himself for this weekend instead.
I think even when Clarkson doesn't have his best game, he still has those moments of magic where I'm like, oh, that was really good. I'm like, I wish I could do that. And just those little points that, you still relish, and it's still worthwhile him having that starting position on the pitch. We haven't seen him in a scenario like this. He's a young guy. He's probably not been in too many semi-finals or occasions like this. So it's difficult to know whether he'll rise to the occasion or nerves will come through. I think he'll be okay on the day. I think we can rely on him. I think he'll be good.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I'm looking forward to seeing how he takes to the occasion as well. And Calum, I suppose, with the likes of Ramadani and Shinnie sitting in behind him, he does have that opportunity to roam a bit and link the play in the forward area. And of course, as well with Leighton, we know the quality he can bring just throughout. You just need to look at the goals he scored as well. But that midfield duo of Ramadani and Shinnie, that's going to be hugely important. That goes without saying, that those two need to have their best games for Aberdeen and really dominate that centre of the park, because as Beth said, once we kind of lost the middle of the pitch up Tawdry, we lost the game. So we'll be looking at those two to really keep the gel of the squad together as such.
Absolutely, especially when, I suppose, you look who scored the goals late on for Rangers. It was Scott Arfield from through the middle of the park. But I think also, not only in terms of quality between Shinnie and Ramadani, having them in there, even if things aren't coming off for them in terms of technique, quality, whatever, the effort they'll put in, fans will feed off that and be able to get behind the team as well. So it gives that sort of added edge. You know, Graham Shinney or Ramadan, he will not shy away from flying into a big tackle, which that type of thing can switch a game because can get the fans back on side as well. So if things aren't going our way, having them in there, the effort, the doggedness, just the sort of tenacity that they can have could be key. And I think if we are to win, I'll come through them quite massively.
And Beth, of course, we've been speaking about the whole team from front to back. So we'll look at the strikers now. Bojan has been well documented. He's on a poor run of form just now, but he's got to start this game, doesn't he?
I don't know.
Oh.
So I think if we were playing a normal league game this weekend, I don't think he'd start. But because of the occasion, the semi-final, I don't know whether you switch it up. My only issue with it is that I think Duke's your game winner. And I think you need to be playing Duke where he's going to be at his best, and that's where at the top, this top striker. Where does that leave Miovski? Who do you put in instead? Bazowin, he had good bits in the game against St Johnstone, but like I said last time, I don't think he's match sharp yet. He's not had the minutes, and you need somebody who's match sharp in a semi-final. It's not the place to be giving players minutes sort of thing. So I'm really undecided. Maybe Miovski rises to the occasion, maybe the semi-final and all that goes with a semi-final spurs him on. But I think it's so important that we get the best out of Duke because he's our best player on the park, potentially, you could say. So it's important that you get the best out of your best player. So I'm really undecided.
Yeah, and it's funny though, because Calum, it's a fair point. And I think if we had been speaking about going into a run-of-the-mill league game, there would be legitimate understanding around Bojan having a spell on the bench and maybe coming off it later on in the game. But can you really afford to drop him going into this game? Are you in agreement with what Beth says about he could potentially rise to the occasion? This could be the sort of game that he needs and he'll thrive off of.
Imagine the scenes. He's had a little bit of a barren spell. People questioning if he's in the team or not. And then he pops up, scores the winner. Now, that would be brilliant. That would be worth it. And I've decided that's going to happen based off nothing other than what Beth just said. I think he has to. I think he does have to start because, although maybe his confidence hasn't been right, fitness has been questioned as well, whether he's fully fit, whether he's carrying little niggles. I think he has to. The fact that the technique he's shown in some of the chances that he's taken, although that wasn't the case against St Johnstone, it's not been the case for a little while. He is still capable of that, and if he does rise to the occasion, he does get that confidence back, sort of miraculously a little bit. Then, if you're picking a player for a chance to fall to, it's either him or Duke. And if you don't start him, you're relying quite heavily on Duke. And I know that probably means you put Duke through the middle. However, I think you've got to start them both. And it's not the time to be sort of tinkering for tinkering's sake at this stage. And then, come an hour, 70 minutes, things haven't been going the way, we're still in the game, then it's maybe time to change it.
Yeah, if they haven't been going the way, then we change it. If it is going the right way,
keep it the same.
Change it, yeah. Please don't change it. But no, look, it's cup football. Anything can happen. Calum, I've got weird superstitions when it comes to cup football. That I used to have a thing whenever we won a cup game, I'd have to wear the same top, same shoes, everything had to be the same until we got beat. Do you guys have anything similar for cup competitions?
No, you're a freak.
I get it. I'm superstitious, but not so much in those circumstances. I've not planned out my outfit for Sunday yet. So,
do you wash the clothes, Glen?
Yeah, wash the clothes. Yeah. That's
the main thing.
Yeah. No, I would always plan out my outfit as well, make sure everything was looked out, so I didn't wear it in the lead up to the game as well. Just have it all set aside.
So what's the outfit for Sunday then?
Yeah.
Well, see, we played Partick Thistle and I went in after work, so I'd have to go in my work clothes.
Well, you're going to have to do it.
You might have to.
Have my lanyard and everything.
Might have to.
But if we don't win, folk are going to be coming for me saying I wasn't in my work gear, so it's on me. But let's hope that we can go out on Sunday and actually take the game to Rangers and be sitting here, Calum, when we come back next week, speaking of a cup final appearance. And Beth, will maybe have to get you back on the show again to do another mix. That would be an even bigger treat for everybody. But of course, if you are watching this preview on YouTube, unfortunately, we can't bring you the mix that Beth has done due to copyright issues. So in a rare treat for those of you that listen on audio, Beth has kindly prepared a playlist mix ahead of the game. So if you are traveling to the game just now and have enjoyed the preview, hopefully this further gets you excited for the game. So Beth, I'll let you introduce your mix.
Yeah, so I thought, let's get you psyched up for the game. So I've went for some Dawn classics, some good songs that we all have our chance to, for all our favourite players. And then about halfway through, I mix it up with some good dance tunes to get you right up for it. So hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully maybe Jim Goodwin will play it in the dressing room to get the team psyched up. I'll give him a message.
Perfect. Well, enjoy.
Now, unfortunately, that is where we'll have to leave it for the video version of this episode. If you do want to check out Beth's mix, then you can head over to our Spotify or to our Twitter at RTG_podcast, Instagram at RTG.podcast, where you'll find the links to all the other audio platforms. Thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on those platforms. Beth's links are in the description as well below, and subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode on YouTube. Thank you very much for tuning in. We hope that next time we talk to you, we will have a semi-final victory to talk to you about. However, my confidence is seeping out to me the closer we get to the game. Thank you very much for tuning in once again, and take care.